I am capable and everything is figure outable, right? Whenever I run into something that I just don't understand or don't get, I take a break and I just start chanting that in my head. Hey, I'm capable, everything's figure outable. I'm capable, everything's figure outable, just over and over and over and over until I get back into it and start diving into it, and then it just kind of comes.
All right, everyone. Here at Business Ventures, we have another great episode with the my good friend Lex Zavala. I'm gonna have him introduce himself again, and then also kind of go over what he does, as in entrepreneurship, and just go from there. So, Lex, this is your time.
Thanks. I appreciate you having on your podcast, man. Yeah, it's my name's Lex Zavala. Um, what I do is I run an IT managed services company. If you're asking yourself what that is, pretty much if it has to do with IT, we worry about that for you. That's that's all it is. We handle the tech. That way, the business owner does not. That's one less piece that they have to worry about. But also currently starting a construction concrete company. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's kind of what I do on the entrepreneurship side.
Yeah, and then I remember when we having a conversation, it was kind of like, oh, do you do this IT business, but then also you have that entrepreneurship mind that you're just like, what else can I do? What else can I start?
Mhm.
So from there, what kind of inspired you to go, into the IT, and then also, kind of inspired you to go into the construction, the cement business that you're looking at?
So the IT side of things, I that's what I went to school for. It's I've done it since back in the day and continue with it. Worked many jobs in it, and then just one day I saw some writing on the wall, and I'm like, you know what? It's why don't I just do this on my own, right? Instead of relying on somebody else to give me a job. I decided to start doing it for myself, right? As for the concrete business, this was mostly to help somebody out. There was a couple of people that approached me in that industry. They're like, "Hey, we know this industry. We've done it for 30 plus years. We're just tired of working for somebody else that's and they keep taking advantage of us. They don't pay
Mhm.
us what they tell us, or sometimes they don't pay us all at all, or we will work all day for really horrible pay. So they asked me, say, would you help us start this and just run it? We will focus it. We will focus on the you know pouring of the concrete. The concrete part. You just focus on the business and just take care of us, right? And that's how kind of that started. Is just a couple really close people that are like, hey, we need this. Can you help out? And if you can, how can we go about it? So I've been learning a lot on the construction side of things, and people don't tell you how much really goes into that that piece, what it really would require, to even remotely to be able to start something like that. But again, it's to help some people out. That way, they don't have to worry about their livelihood anymore, and when they're gonna and if they're gonna get paid to feed their family, type of deal.
And what I like about what that one is for, you're in that learning process with the whole, concrete side of business. So that for me speaks like you're not really like, oh well, I don't know, I don't, that's not part of what I do. I'm more of the IT. You're more of like, I can figure this out. And you're the way I see it is you're looking for helping someone out, but then you're also learning in the process. And now you're like, well, there's no limit for you. I don't see a limit for you that you can feel like, well, it's out of my reach. I can, it's like, no, I'm gonna figure this out and get it done. You're that
Yeah,
entrepreneurship where it's like there's no limit for you. I see. You're figuring it out
no,
and you're getting it done.
you know what? I'm pretty sure a lot of the people that you've interviewed, a lot of the other entrepreneurs, a lot of the times they will tell you, or most of them will tell you, is like sometimes when you're starting this, there's really no plan at all, or there's no map, no road. It's just you're making it as you go, right? And for me, the concrete thing is I have some people that I can call and say, hey, what about this piece? But they're only able to give me, up to a certain, point, and the rest is like, okay, now I got to go find this out. All right, what website can I use? How can I go about it? It's just a constant learning. It's just
Yeah.
you kind of dive in and start finding out. Okay, I can do this. This license will allow me to do that, or I gotta even learn just how concrete works in general, type of deal, right?
Yeah.
just so I'm able to speak the lingo with these guys.
Yeah. And so for what is like, is there anything that you're I would say, like, from the IT side to, this concrete business? Is it something that for you that's made it easy as far as like like a transition, to this other type of business? Do you see yourself, or is it something like is it just kind of going by learning, like, is the IT part made it easier for you to go on this route, like the entrepreneur side of the
Yes, because when I originally started my IT business, I made a lot of mistakes, right? And I lost a lot of money because of those
Mhm.
mistakes. It's kind of like when you start, learning how to ride a bike. In the beginning, you're just gonna, topple over, or you're gonna be all wobbly all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Well, next time you get on, you're like, okay, that happened yesterday. Today's better, and now you see yourself going, a little bit smoother. Your your steering wheel is not shaking or anything like that. It's kind of the analogy how I see it. It's like, okay, second time around, okay, di- different area, but the business aspect is still the same. You still gotta, register your business, set up, accountings, financing, and all that. It's been a little bit smoother than
Mhm.
my first time around.
Okay. I like that. I just wanted to kind of, because for me, when you first were talking about it, it's like, man, it's like kind of complete. Like, how are you making it work? How are you bringing it all back together? But seeing that, I mean, and you being, I mean, you know, an IT person is like, where the resources are, right? You got to search some things. You got to, whatever it is that you got to do, you got to, go on and figure it out. So I kind of, that's one thing I really like that you mentioned that.
Thanks.
Yeah. So what is as far as what was one of like the biggest challenges that you faced starting, going back to the IT? What was one of the biggest challenges that you faced on that one? I mean, it's your first business, first, like the other you're going to, and so what was something you can say or that you can remember, I guess?
So starting off from scratch, man, it's literally I went from making over 100,000 a year, um, as an employee, to making 30, and literally from one week to the other,
Hmm.
right? um or even less than that. It's like, okay, this is really on me now. I got to go find, some clients, talk to some people. And at the same time, that kind of forced me to get out of my shell and actually start talking to people, right? Most IT guys that you talk to, yes, I mean, the guys those guys have a lot of knowledge. They're incredible at what they know, but they're not very approachable.
Hmm.
Um, and I had to learn how to become approachable and how to approach as well. So it really got me out of that shell, to be able to do that. And if I was going to do that, I needed to do that too, for my livelihood, not only to feed myself but to also feed my family.
Yeah, and I totally agree because I know when I meet some IT, people, it's just like, man, I feel like I have to know some of the lingo to kind of communicate, or else it's just like I feel like, oh man, they're gonna think I'm wasting their time, like it's like you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, just about like, the process, the payments, and all that's like, oh yeah, sure, like whatever, whatever it means. But then I'm like, man, what was that like? And so, and I had that problem before where I was talking to some IT person and they were like throwing in these oh my gosh, what do you call them? Oh, it's not verbs. What are they called? Like the lingo, right? And I'm just
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm able to pick it up. Like, yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah, you know. So I feel like that was one, but not really, because I'm like, there's so much more that they could have said, and I would have been lost. But I like that approach that you having to like make sure you're approachable. But and that's, I mean, that's how I feel like I felt good, you know, communicating with you, because I'm like, man, this guy's very approachable. It's Lex, you know, like some guy you know I can communicate with and feel like, okay, he knows me, and even though we just barely met like 10 minutes ago,
Yeah,
you know.
no, that's I really try to strive for that. Is to make myself approachable. I mean, and that's for everybody, right? It's just you never know what's going on, with that person. So it's if I can make myself approachable so you can talk to, why not? It's because the way I see it too is, what can I learn from you? Even just by having a simple conversation is like, I'm always in that learning mode, and that's the IT guy inside of me. Is like, okay, well, what can I learn? It's the analytical. It's like, all right, what can this person teach me? And I'm always looking out for that.
Yeah, it's always a learning. I mean, and it's not, I haven't so far that I've met or interviewed that they're like, oh, I know everything, you know. It's like they're always like, I'm still in that learning, and still figuring things out. But one thing I do see like a pattern is like, once they have started a business, their first one, then the entrepreneur is like, okay, I'm gonna continue doing another one, and it's easier, right? Because now
Mhm.
they're like, I know, and now I know the financial side, the business side of it. So that's already like 25% or whatever percentage it is, right, for them. So now the next thing is like just whatever business is going, even if it has nothing to do with what I've done before.
Yeah,
That's a pattern I'm picking up. Like, okay, that's an entrepreneur side mindset. That is like, okay, the hardest part for someone is already easy for me. So now let me go and learn and figure this out.
yeah. It's your first business. Your most, I want to say almost 90% of the time, you're gonna bomb it, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's part of that process. That failure is going to teach you. But let's say that you succeed and then start another one and you succeed again. You haven't had those failures along the way. So when it does happen, you'll be like, okay, I don't know what to do here now. But you already launched two successful businesses. So by the time you get to that third one and something, happens, I think it can become a little soul crushing, I almost want to
Yeah.
say, right? So I'm glad that, yes, it's cost me time, money, and lessons, and failures along the way, but it's definitely prepared me for my next adventure, and then whatever one's after that, and so on and
Yeah.
so forth. But yeah, they're definitely, life lessons that help you kind of get back up, and and keep going.
Yeah. And at one point with those, with the fillers, I mean, like you said, starting up and stuff, were you ever just like, man, maybe this shouldn't be one thing, like how you mentioned right in the beginning, it's like you went from, getting paid from over 100 to now like 30 or less. Did you at one point just like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe I should just give up, or what kind of made you push through that, if you felt that way?
Oh, it's I can't speak for everybody else, but definitely, for myself. But I almost want to say it's everybody. If you're a human being, you're going to go through that. You're going to come to a point where you're going to say, "Man, what the hell was I thinking?" For even trying to do this. Um, but you get to a point where you look back as like, I've come this far. If I go back, it's literally going to be a waste of time, resources, money, whatever else you want to throw into it. It's going to be literally all for nothing. So I'm halfway there. If I just keep going, even if it's just an inch that you move, well, guess what? It's still an inch that you move forward, right?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's you're still moving along, and that's kind of the push that drove me. It's like, yes, keep going, but at the same time, also my family. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
we made this decision. They're counting on me, for their livelihood to keep going.
Yeah.
But I think at any time, any entrepreneur always has the option to fall back, to go work for somebody else to find a job.
Hmm.
But and again, I speak for myself, is I think when that happens, is like, well, then why did I do this in the beginning if I'm just going to go back, to that
Hmm.
aspect type of deal? So
Yeah.
does it does that
Yeah.
kind of did that answer your question?
No,
Sorry,
yeah,
I
it,
go on these legal, tangents. So
no, and it make it's like, because like in the way you're saying it, and the way I like it, is because you're saying, you're speaking for yourself, right? You're not saying like, hey, if you fail and you're happy to go back to a job, then you're a failure, it's,
mhm.
you're saying, hey, my situation, the way I thought about it. And I feel like it's like, hey, if someone's thinking of like it's not going to work out, just know that there's people that went through that and they also had the same thought, but instead of like kind of like, oh, I'm going to go back to a job that's going to make me feel comfortable, it's like, no, pushing through it.
Yeah.
It might not it might, the success might not come in like 6 months or a year, but it's just like pushing through that, and I guess everyone's road to that part where they feel like, okay, I feel good on the um, business side, the entrepreneur side, that I did on this one, that to say, okay, now I feel like it was a success, but it did take me 2 3 years, and it's going for business. Like I know I guess I don't know if it's like a Hispanic thing, but hearing it, it's like, oh yeah, it's like first you have to get through like the first 2 years, so it's 2 years that you have to get through. And so I'm like, okay, like what is, for me, it's like, what exactly does that mean? Like if after 2 years, if I didn't make it, then that's it, I should just give up?
No, you know what? I want to call it's just a benchmark, because I feel like it was around almost a 2 year mark, that it happened. And anybody that I talk to, it's always been about that. It's like for almost 2 years, you're just, going, almost to the point of burnout. And then something happens along the way where it just kind of, some little switch gets activated. I don't know what. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it just boom. It's like, oh, here it is. That's when you start, noticing a little bit of kind of the success. And anybody and everybody has a different way of measuring that success level,
Mhm.
right? But for me, was like, okay, now it's becoming a steady form of income, where I can actually live okay, right? I'm not worrying about, oh man, I don't have enough to pay the mortgage this month, or this. But you noticing that you start getting calls here, more people are reaching out to you, um, more jobs are popping up. And and I want to make something perfectly clear, is yes, I hustled, on my own, but along the way I got help from a lot of individuals, right? A
Mhm.
lot of doors were open from these individuals. And if it wasn't for them, I think it would have taken me a lot longer, for
Yeah.
that to happen. So because of these individuals, I was able to kind of speed up that process.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely, helps a lot. Knowing somebody that can kind of, guide you, um, and open those doors for you definitely does help.
Yeah. And what I like, so two things I wanted to go back. I feel I really, let me just go with this one. I see that type, I see that because of that, those people and how that kind of made you into the person that you are. Because I feel like the vibe is, that's how you are, right? You are like, okay, I'm gonna help this person. I'm gonna share what I know. I help this business person's business, whatever, where other, I guess now I haven't really kind of stopped focusing on those negatives where it's like, oh, someone doesn't want to help see you succeed. But now seeing people like you who are like, you know what, I don't even know this person, but how can I help? What can we do? And so I guess I'm just mumbling around, but what I'm trying to get at is saying that kind of formed you and made you to kind of share that and know, like, hey, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So how about I be that person for the other, so,
Oh,
entrepreneur.
Oh, of course, man. I'm a big believer in pay it forward.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to run into people that you try to, help, and they'll take advantage of you. And I think that's always going to be the case, one way or another. But every once in a while, you'll run into somebody and like, okay, this person's serious. Let's bring him along and just kind of answer whatever questions they have, just kind of like I did, because again, through these processes and even now, it's I have somebody that I can call and say, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing here. How did you approach something like this?
Mhm.
Right. And if they don't know, they are able to connect me with somebody that could possibly know.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the great thing, because a lot of this information, it's not held. It's not guarded. It's like, no, it's mine. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to, figure it out. And sometimes I feel, with certain individuals, that's the case, right? It's no, I had to struggle, so you're going to struggle too. It's
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It becomes like that, and I know how that feels. I know what it's like, but at the same time, I know the other, side of the coin, where it's like, no, I got help, and because of those, I will not be here talking to you right now, probably. So,
Mm. Yeah. And it's funny, like you say that too, because I don't even know why I said funny, but it's interesting that you say that. See, yeah, like for me, I only have to catch myself. But it's interesting that you say that, because I had as I'm going with the podcast, I'm like, it'd be good to start kind of building the community where the everyone that has so far is like, yeah, I'm willing to help anyone else, like kind of like, teach them, or whatever question they might have. And for me, I'm like, all right, like, and I'm like, I'm gonna put this to test, like, and so I had someone who wanted to become a realtor. They did the test and everything, and and then they're like, well, what, I don't know who to talk to. I'm like, well, let me just reach out to this person, like I had on the podcast, see if they're able to, but I want to reach out to first. I want, if they say no, then I'm gonna straight up tell you, like, sorry,
mhm.
but it has so happened that it worked out. They're like, yeah, like, I, send them my number, we'll talk. And now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, guess what? Like, I'm getting a job at that person's, realtor company. And for me, that makes me happy, because I'm like, well, that's good that I was able to make it work and bring that connection around, and help someone out, even though they're not, for me, I'm not getting anything in return. Maybe unless I sell my house or something, but that's not gonna happen.
No,
So
man. And I think that's the beautiful part, is when you start making those connections in different people. It's like, you know what? I might know somebody that might be able to help me out, or let me reach out to this person or that person, and you begin to build like this web of just knowing people, right? That in different areas, and I find that to be fascinating, but for me, I find it to be scary, um, because again, I'm a huge introvert, and putting myself in uncomfortable situations and having to talk, to people, that just it's very draining. But at the same time, it's like, okay, conversations start going in my head, and it's like, okay, well, what am I going to say? How am I going to go through this conversation? How am I going to go? Am I going to look dumb, or
yeah.
stutter, or this? It's just like my brain just starts kind of spiraling. I'm like, I got to reel myself back in. But yeah, it's one of those. See, another tangent. There you
Yeah.
go.
No, and I see it on those, like, for me, I'm gonna say, right, like, successful, those entrepreneurs who, who I like, oh, I'm an introvert, but then I switch into an extrovert to help me, you know, uh, with my business, right? Because, like, if you're an introvert and you're trying to start something, you're not gonna have that communication with someone and be like, yeah, like, how am I gonna go approach this person? How am I gonna be confident in myself to, to be able to have someone, purchase a product or services that I offer.
Mhm.
So I do see those successful ones where, like, I can turn it on or off. Yes, it is draining. Yes, I'll go home and I'll just go to sleep, after whatever I did, because, like, I need to recharge. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see, man, it's another pattern that I'm picking up. I'm like, okay, for me personally, I'm an extrovert. I don't care. Like, I can go and I can say whatever I say. I can go out there, be loud, and be who I am. But then I'm like, I also have to step back and be like, not everyone's like that. And I get confused too when I'm like, oh, like, I could have been like, Lex, I take you as an extrovert. Like, I would never have imagined that you were introvert. But that's when I'm like, okay, hold up. Not everyone's different. Everyone has their own different approach. and I should not just jump into like a conclusion and be like, hey, let's do this or let's go do that, you know.
Yeah, no, my wife is the she's the extrovert in the relationship.
Yeah.
Um, if we're at a party, it's I'm looking for her where she's at. She is like, I'll just go chill with her for a little bit. That way, she kind of takes, a little bit of,
Yeah.
I guess you can say, the spotlight away. It's just she's great with people. She's very approachable. She can become like the center of wherever you are. It's just poof. She just commands the room right away.
Yeah.
And with me, it doesn't work like that. And if I try to force it, I just look like an idiot.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you're saying that, but I saw different, right? When we were at that Tacos Together conference, and the way you're saying things about yourself is like that's not the person I saw up there. You're confident. You were like, "Who is this guy?" And I even was like, "You're so." I was like, "This person is so humble. Like, who is he? How he's so confident? The way he's saying, the way he caught my attention. Is now something I'm like, man, when is this gonna be over? You know?" Because it wasn't like that.
Oh man, I think during that time I was nervous, right? During
Yeah.
that conference. And by the way, shout out to Tacos Together in that aspect. But yeah, man, I was trying not to, come unglued.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I was able, kind of, give that appearance. But no, it's at the end of the day, it's like everybody else. I'm human. It was my first conference, talking about myself, being in front of people. It just, yeah, it was very daunting. That was for sure. But I'm glad I was able, to kind of, ooze that confidence. But
Yeah.
no, it's I was trembling on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Lex. Yeah, but again, yeah, like he said, big shout out to Talk Us Together. If it wasn't for that conference, I would have never met such a great person like you. Great guy, and someone I can consider a friend. So, shout out to them. I'll have to let them know or something. Figure something out. Yeah. So, starting, where you're at now. So, what advice would you um give to other entrepreneurs who are starting out, that day one, day 30, day 90, whatever. I feel like it's, what something that you can tell them.
Don't stop. Just keep going, man. Because again, we go back to there are going to be days where like, what am I doing? Do I really want this? You're going to get inside of your head and start doubting yourself. And what's probably going to make it worse is if you're surrounded with people that are seeing you doing this, and they're negative in that aspect, and they start feeding you these negative thoughts as well as that, well, you're going to fail, it's not going to work out, or this or that. It's definitely not going to help you either. So it's get yourself surrounded with people that truly care for what you're doing, and they're gonna be your cheerleader, cheerleaders.
Earlier, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be rooting for you, along the way. Whatever minor success, happens, they're genuinely going to, root for you. And I say genuinely because you're going to also notice the people that are rooting for you, and they're not.
Mm,
Right? You will learn to pick that up as you go along. But definitely surround yourself with individuals that help your cause, and not add more burden to what you already have.
yeah. And um and I can agree because I guess part of me is hearing those, those cheerings, but also like, not wanting to see me succeed. It's kind of it's affected. I can't be like, oh yeah, it's been all like uh easy and trying to figure it out what I'm trying to do, but
Mhm.
because I hear those voices and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should like just kind of focus on one thing and forget about the other thing that for me I have a passion about. So going from those voices it's hard. It's not easy to just stop listening or cover my ears or not thinking about it, because there's times that the doubts come up and I'm like, wow, like what am I doing?
Yeah, you know what, and I think another contributing factor that kind of, especially as a Latino or an immigrant in general,
Mm,
um, is if you came here as an immigrant, um, you're kind of taught, at a young age where, hey, whatever you have, be grateful for, right?
mm,
If you get more, great, but if you don't, just be grateful with what you have now, and kind of almost kind of a mentality of complacency, to be complacent.
yeah.
Um, so that doesn't really help in the narrative, kind of in our mentality. And again, I'm speaking only for myself. Um, those conversations, in the back of my head didn't also help the fact that, again, it's you're taught, just be grateful with what you have, and be happy. Don't try to get greedy, because some people see, oh, you're just being greedy because you want more. It's like, yes, I want more, but not in a greedy way. It's
Yeah.
I want more of just waking up every day to the same thing, right? That's craziness.
Yeah.
So that definitely doesn't help either.
Yeah. It's trying to separate like with the our culture, it's just like having to, yeah, I agree, like they see it as greedy, but you're like, no, like your mindset is like you want more in a different way, but it's not in the greedy way. And yeah, I totally 100% agree with what you said on that.
Yeah, it's I like to say it's I like to have I'm not ambitious. I like to have ambitions, right? It's and if you said in Spanish, it's no soy ambicioso, tengo ambiciones, right?
Mm,
It's one of those things that, no, it's I'm not being greedy. It's just I want more for myself and for my surrounding, because at the end of the day, if I'm doing well, well, guess what? Those people around me that are close to me, parents, brothers, wife, kids, they're also going to be, well off as well. So
yeah. You're thinking of, I think I heard it before, but you're thinking of it as for you, right? Or maybe you're the one that said this, the great old wise, Lex. But it's the not legacy is the word, but you're looking out for your family, so you're providing for them, even
yeah,
in the long term, not just like, okay, I'm gonna provide for myself. It's like, no, you're doing what you're doing because you know what your plan is, and it's a plan that's not going to be a 25-year plan. It's like 50, 100,
yeah,
however
it's
years you're,
generational.
yeah, generate. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
So it's like, you know what? And sometimes the plan doesn't work out. It's just change it, or what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, just change it in a way where it brings you back to the path that that you're trying to follow.
yeah,
Definitely, it's not always going to be all straight and narrow. It's like, trust me, it is not. You're going to get pushed in so many ways, and sometimes your own mindset will be like, hey, you know what, we're good. Let the foot off the gas and just kind of relax. Kick back, do this, do that. um, even your own self might start to sabotage. So
mm,
it's I and again, I speak for myself. It's I when I start to see that happen, it's like, whoa, 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 yeah, I kind of have to take a step back and say, no, what are you doing?
mm,
There's a goal, and we got to be going. It's not time to
yeah,
relax. So keep pushing forward.
okay, yeah, wow. Knowing that it's like it happens to everyone, and even at the point where I think you ran your business for such a great long time that people can I think people need to understand there's still going to be the point in life, even after you have your business, that you're like having those doubts, or but still continuing, because you made it happen for a reason. And so you got to also, I guess, remind yourself what that reason is.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
do you going with this is like, do you see what can you say was one key to success, or something that you made you um, successful in your business or something?
Um, I think just trying every day, just waking up and just trying. No matter no matter how difficult, no matter how hard, it's one of those things. Is just get up and do it, right?
Hmm.
But also along the way, we go back to to again is meeting those people. They definitely added, have added to my success, to my stepping stones of of being, where I'm at now. Again, without those individuals, it would have taken me, a lot longer, or I might not even have the chance at all.
Hmm.
And that's just me being frank with you. But in the back end, yes, again, it was all me, but I definitely had a, help from those individuals.
Yeah.
So they were the ones that kind of said, "Hey, here's a door. It's your choice. You want to step through it, great. If not, that's okay. We'll leave it there."
Yeah.
So
Jeez,
yeah,
man. I'm such a one thing I can always say about you is like a humble person, you know. Like I asked you when we met, um, and was like, I was like, did they for it's like did they just like pick someone to go on the conference or something to be a speaker? But you're like, no, like and my title, you know what? I think you said you like I what is it? You said something about your title. You don't care about titles or something like that, you know.
no,
You
it's
really I remember exactly the words, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have wrote it down, you know, because for me, it's like you said a lot without saying, you know, much.
no, it's during the in that conference. If you look at the roster, it's CEO of this,
Hmm.
executive VP
Yeah,
of that, it, and then you looked at, underneath my picture, you just saw engineer.
yeah,
Right? It's I, I guess, and after that conference, let me kind of go back. I went back and and thought about it a little bit, and yes, I don't really use my title of CEO. I'm just not used to it,
hmm,
but I think it's also in regards to imposter syndrome, right?
hmm,
It's one of those is like, yes, it is my company. Technically, I am the CEO on paper, but I don't feel like the CEO. You know, I don't act like a CEO. I run it, so I think it led down to imposter syndrome, where on paper I am it, but
hmm,
I don't feel it. Type
yeah,
of deal. So it all comes down, like what I think about myself in here. But yeah, I just thought it was funny there. It's I in that conference, I said that I don't if I don't know if people watch the Big Bang Theory or have watched it, and there's an episode in there where there's this group of guys, they're all friends.
hmm,
Everybody's a doctor, and
yeah,
then there's this weird one friend to the side. His name's Halowitz. He's an engineer. He only
uh-huh,
has master's degrees, so they're always clowning on him because he doesn't have his
yeah,
doctorate degree. And it, in the presence of all those CEOs, VPs and all that, it was kind of one of those. I'm not saying that they were making fun of me, because that was not the case.
mhm,
It just reminded me of that episode as like, yeah, see, doctor, engineer.
yeah,
So it was a funny moment for me inside of my head. Let's put it that
yeah. But I think like for me, the way I interpret it was more like it gave me hope, right? For me personally, right? Just because it, I'm always like thought about like, oh, titles, right? Someone starts a company, I'm CEO now, you know. It's like, yeah, it's a startup, it is. And but then I also don't want to judge, right? But then I'm just like, it was like, man, like I want to be able to speak to in a conference, you know. And like, you know, they got this engineer. If he can do it, I can do it, you know.
way.
And then it goes back to like, but then you're like, no, I have my own business. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I don't have what it takes. But then just then, but then the way you explain it now is like, I guess in the same situation. I keep hearing imposter syndrome, and I just had the most recent one, for myself personally, where I do this. I try to market people, try to like talk who they are, get people notice out there. But then when it comes to me, I'm more quiet. Like I don't really, like yeah, I can do this, but I don't want to. I want people to know. And it wasn't until a good friend of ours, Giselle, was like, "Dude, that's imposter syndrome." It's like, "What do
Mhm.
you mean?" It's like, "What is that?" Like, he's like, "Yeah, you're willing to like help other people, but then all of a sudden it comes to you, you're just like, you just quiet, you just go mute, nothing else." And I'm like, and I'm like, I guess so. Now when you bring it up, it's like, man, I keep hearing that word, and it's like, hitting me. So yeah,
No, and you know what? And it's okay to keep it, in the, I'm not going to say in the back of your mind, because I don't want you, to put it away. It's like, no, it's when that feeling, because now you're familiar with it, right?
yeah,
It's like, oh, wait, I'm experiencing imposter syndrome, again. Nope. Let me give myself into that and give myself credit, for what the credit is due. And that's what I began doing. And yes, our friend Giselle, we have talked about this, and she also reminded me to kind of celebrate the little wins, right? Always the little wins. And
yeah,
that's what I always forget. I'll hit these little milestones or markers, but I forget to kind of, celebrate them within myself. And when something big happens, or something doesn't go, the way it should, I'm like, man, that sucks. It's just you almost get the sense of feeling like, oh man, that was just an epic failure. But no, if I go back and, and look back at what I've accomplished to that point, is like, oh wait, no, it wasn't. It's just a minor setback,
mhm,
and it helps you get out of that kind of slump that you go into.
yeah.
So
Which is funny because oh, I keep saying funny. I gotta stop saying that. I'll fix that. All the voice. What's interesting on is that you go yourself hard. You feel you go hard about when you fail. When there's a failure, but then when there's those accomplishments, and like you said, instead of like man celebrating them, you're not. But then all of a sudden you get more affected by those failures, even though they're the same. They're minor compared to that, what you did that you accomplished that was big, even though you then move it as a minor achievement.
mhm.
And it's like, gotta stop, you know, it shouldn't be that way. It should be the opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah, failure, okay, that's little, whatever, yeah. But my accomplishment of succeeding, of doing this, with my life and my entrepreneurship and my job, my business, that should be the main focus of like that's a big achievement.
yeah, yeah. And going back to that conference, I just want to say that conference, I was thrown into that. Okay, it's not just I magically just kind of say, got this thing where it's like, yeah, now I'm going to be speaking at conferences. And no, it's what a good friend of mine said, hey, I like your story. We're throwing you into the conference. He gave me the option to say yes or no, but kind of didn't.
Yeah,
He will tell you otherwise,
yeah,
but it wasn't much of an option.
yeah.
So it was one of those things like, okay, it's like kind of when your friend, when you're younger and they dare you to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those.
Well, like I said, it was amazing. Like I said, I would knowing now, like, I mean, if I can go back, it's like, hey, man, this guy he got thrown in there, but for me, it's like, dude, this was freaking amazing. Like, who is this guy? But he did such a good, and the way you captured is everything was good.
Thank you,
Going
man.
back,
Appreciate it.
like amazing, and yeah, but um, I wanted to. What's something that you could leave? It can be a saying, a motto, whatever got you through. But what's something that you can leave off the entrepreneurs? Those ones who have started a business, but also those ones who are considering. They have the entrepreneur mindset, but they need that light.
There's one that that I kind of recently started, saying to myself, almost like I'm kind of like a mantra. I am capable, and everything is figure outable. right? Whenever I run into something that I just don't understand or don't get, I take a break and I just start chanting that in my head. Hey, I'm capable. Everything's figured outable. I'm capable. Everything's figured outable. Just over and over and over and over until I get back into it and start diving into it, and then it just kind of comes, right?
Mhm.
That's one that's really stuck with me, recently, is just that little mantra, just saying it over and over in my head.
Mhm.
Um, it's gotten me out of some situations already where I reach a wall. I literally just kind of figure to just slam into a mind wall. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to throw my hands up and say, dang it, or whatever other word you want to insert in there. But I take a step back, kind of take a few deep breaths, and just start saying that out in my head, and then go back into it.
Yeah.
Um, you are capable of doing things. It's just a matter of pushing through. If that's the one thing that I can leave off, is just don't give up.
Mm.
Okay, because if you give up, no matter what you do, time's gonna keep going by. The next day's gonna go by. A week's gonna go by, and if you give up, it's just time that you already lost, and you're just gonna have to start all over again.
Yeah.
You're just going slowly. If it takes you 2 years, 4 years, it's still 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, however long it needs to take of progress that you made instead of just doing nothing.
Mm.
Right? And that's something our friend Giselle kind of reminded me of.
It's funny how we have this triangle where it's because I was just messaging her too, and I'm like, oh man, and I told her, yeah, and I met with Lex, and it's like we're learning from each other,
Hmm.
like, and so it's just funny how it circles back around. I'm like, man, it's a good friendship, good network, good uh you know thing that's been created just by us having that communication.
It it makes me so happy, and it gets me so excited that knowing that I have this small group of friends, but also this other network as well. That hey, this happened that you can share with. Is like, hey, dude, that's great, and you start talking about it, and then you bring somebody else in, with the same mindset, and you can all share and talk about it and kind of root each other on. Or if you hit a wall, or you run into this issue, where you can kind of bounce that off, and you have this group of individuals where they are genuinely there to, to help you or to listen to you. That's the best part right there. It's because if one of us succeeds, we help the other. We kind of pull them all, as long as they're willing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's because you also don't want to drag anybody. But if you see the other person is struggling, it's like, hey, take our hand, and the other person is going to take the other, and we're kind of pull you up, because we see that you're struggling. Here it is.
yeah.
That is one of the greatest feelings and just experiences that personal me I love to have.
Yeah, totally agree. Um, Lex, this is also your time where I like to, I guess the young people, what do they say? Plug in, you plug in whatever, towards the end that you wanna not for people to know we are, your business, your social media, just anything that you wanna, add on here. You can, or you don't have to, it's totally up to you. I know as an introvert you don't want to get those messages like, yo, what's what's good.
No,
Oh,
no, it's okay. It's I am on Instagram. I'm probably not as active as I probably should be, especially for my businesses on on social media and all that. It's just I hate it.
yeah,
I do hate. I hate posting about myself, but I love watching other people's content that I can learn from.
yeah,
Right? It's because, believe it or not, social media has really opened up a lot of knowledge for me as well. As oh man, I didn't know that
yeah,
could be possible. Um, but I would love to leave something, but it's just
That's no worry.
it's
Yeah,
it's not there. I don't feel like I'm ready for it.
well, if they want to get through, in contact with you, they need to reach out to me. So you all know where to find me. No, no,
That
no,
works.
but and I do this, because I want to be able to have that where, if you want to share information, especially like I guess the realtor ones were like, yeah, this is my cell phone number, this, and this is what I do, because it's not about me, it's about you. So, and I told you, like, I understand, but I just want to leave it off like man, this has been great conversation. I mean, we had so much other great conversation. I wish I could have just like hit record on every time I meet with you. I'm just gonna carry a camera, a GoPro,
You are
and then
giving
be
me
like,
too much credit, man. That
and I'm gonna
really.
sound, I'm gonna just carry a GoPro with me next time and just be like, hit record. I'm like, okay, let's talk, But and I honestly say that with, because it's been such a great conversation that you and I had, and you know, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I was gonna be, oh, like what else can we talk about? Because you shared so much, And this is what I want people to know and understand and know about Lex Zavala and all that. So I couldn't be more thankful, more grateful of having you on this podcast. Um, and also, the names that we added on here and shared that if it wasn't for like the conference, if it also wasn't for our friend Giselle, it's just
Mhm.
all a bunch of things. So yeah, I appreciate your time, man. Appreciate all
Thank
that
you.
you do,
Thank you for
your
having
tip, and if there's anything, I mean, we'll communicate. But thank you so much, man.
me. Yeah, man. Hey, one last thing too. I'll send you my Instagram handle, and if you want it for your viewers, just put it underneath the video, and that's how they can get a hold of me. They
Okay,
can probably message me.
sounds good.
Okay.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, Lex.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a good one. Okay.
See you.
Yeah, take it easy, man. Bye.
Yeah.